Yo, what's going on, Nomads and Drifting Podcast listeners? I'm Brian.
And I'm Monica.
And welcome to our podcast, Backspace Nomads, where we share our nerd for gaming, movies, and all the dork in between. On today's podcast, we're reviewing Black Panther, and we interviewed Tyler, a co-creator of the Kickstarter hit Starmancer. It's February 18th, 2018. This is episode 47. Let's start the show.
Brian, when's the last time you went to Target?
Last week.
Last week. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Mine was this weekend. And I was perusing up and down the aisles, almost purchasing things I didn't need, which is what Target's good for.
Mm-hmm.
I bought deodorant. I put it on in the store because I had forgotten to put it on in the morning, and I got the spray kind, so I didn't have to unwrap anything. I just sprayed the crap out of my armpits, freshened up. I did purchase the deodorant, so I carried on with it. And then I got to the electronics section.
Can I just stop you before we move on from deodorants?
Yeah.
You're trying to act like I don't remember being at TwitchCon with you, where you forgot to put on deodorant. And you bought it at 7-Eleven, and we're walking down the streets of Long Beach, and you're just throwing deodorant underneath the arms, flapping around.
I forgot I did that with you.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I sprayed because I didn't want to have to take the caps off and everything.
Okay, smart.
And so I got the spray. I looked down the aisle, made sure no one was coming, did it. I bought it. It was great. It's coconut scent. My armpits smell like a Bahama breeze, And then I made my way over to the electronics section. And as I got into the electronics section, a few things come to mind when you hit electronic sections. For one, why is it so small nowadays? Mm-hmm. I feel like they used to be way bigger, right?
Yeah.
It's there's 3 TVs here. What is that?
It's like one radio.
Yeah. And then I started looking at the games because I have the Switch now. I've always had my PS4, and I just started looking. I started getting intrigued by additional games that are out there. And then I realized that if I were to buy a game this given day, I am only putting myself in a further deficit. Okay. Because I am in gaming debt.
Ooh.
I have gaming debt. I have Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. Haven't finished it. Monster Hunter. That's not really a game that you kind of totally finish.
Right.
Far from even getting close to finishing it. I got past that tutorial. I've killed a couple, but a couple monsters. I have so many games right now that I'm in the middle of. Mm-hmm. My gaming debt is at an all-time high. And I stopped myself, thankfully, today from buying any further games. But I'm realizing that I have a problem. I have a gaming debt problem right now. I haven't been in debt since years ago when I decided that booze was more important than electricity. And this was a young Monica, okay? So it's not, but now I'm realizing I am in debt. I'm in gaming debt. Do you have that right now?
Do I? Yeah. I have so many games in my Steam library. I don't know. I've been racking up that debt for 5 to 10 years. I buy a game. I look, I'm like, I can't wait to play that game. I don't even open it. Steam has ruined me. I am forever in debt. They're worse than my student loans. I see that light at the end of the tunnel for my loans. Gaming debt? No, it's a tunnel of darkness.
It's a tunnel of darkness. But I'm in the middle of games and I'm wanting to start new ones. What the fuck? Breath of the Wild's a lovely game. Why have I not just committed to finishing it? And now it's I get, 2 hours in a week. It's going to take me 3 fucking years to finish that game. I don't know what I'm going to do. Anyway, Target, I escaped this time. Last time I went in there, I bought a Switch, Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
This time I did leave.
That's like buying a mortgage.
Yeah. This time I just left with my deodorant and a couple of candles. So I was fine. But the gaming debt was really stressful. I feel like this week, that's the gaming wise, that's what I learned about myself. I've got gaming debt. I got to get caught up. I need a gaming advisor, a financial advisor.
Gaming advisor.
I need a gaming advisor. And once I could start this. Once I figure out how to fix my own gaming debt, I'm going to start a program for other people to fix their gaming debt, because I feel like this can't be an uncommon thing.
I can't wait. I'm excited for the Gaming Debt Academy.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
How was your week?
Pretty good. Just hung out, played Fortnite all the time, just addicted to a game finally again in my life. And I became a breakfast person in my life. It's really weird. I used to have a job where I woke up at 6 a.m. I had no time for breakfast, but I got a little few hours in my morning now. Now I'm making like 3 eggs, bacon sandwiches all day long. You want some huevos rancheros? Come over to the house. What's going on?
Did you just invite everyone to your house?
If it's like, I don't want people to stay past 9 a.m, but if you want to come over for huevos rancheros, I can't turn people away. I just can't do it. I'm not.
It's a fucking breakfast buffet.
Yeah. So other than that, went to the movies this week, saw the release of Black Panther.
Well,
if you checked that yourself.
I did too. Yeah, I did. I went, and I only had to pay $5.
How did you get to see Black Panther for $5? Because I shelled out like $15 for one ticket.
Because the theater near me, that's an old Playhouse theater, only ever charges $5 no matter what movie they're showing.
That's so nice, but do you get an automatic seat that leans back as a recliner?
I get a seat that has a mild amount of cushioning.
That is the best description. Like, if you wanted to sell chairs, I think you could. This chair comes with a mild amount of cushioning for your ass. What do you want? All that comfort? No, you want to stay hard in life.
Black Panther's 2 hours and 15 minutes, I believe. You can stay in this seat mildly comfortable for 2.5 hours. A 3-hour film, you'll be in pain. But this one was within the time limit. So
this is a 2-hour seat. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess firstly, big spoilers ahead for the next 20 minutes of the podcast. So if you want to jump forward, it's going to be about 20 minutes, I think, because we're just going to ruin this movie for everyone. So initial impressions. What do you think about Black Panther?
I want to say really fast though that this movie is already blown box office records out of the water. So I feel like almost either there's like the same like few thousand people just going to the theater every single showing, or a lot of people have already seen this film. And if you are listening to the podcast and you're getting a lot of spoilers, you're a little behind, like this is Star Wars status at this point.
Yeah. And I think the craziest thing about the box office, like they're releasing kind of in an off months. This isn't like the big holiday release, and they're still killing at the box office.
Oh yeah. So first impressions for me was that the very beginning of the film, like I don't know if I should say the first third. I think I would have to go and see it again in order to say like exactly how long. I was not into it. I felt like it was being a little bit too showy, the CGI, like some of it felt very much like a comic book movie. And to be quite fucking honest, I am so tired of comic book movies. I am sick of them. I am so sick of them. I feel like it's the only thing that our society can handle nowadays because it's got enough like bombs and explosions and whatever, and most of the time lacks a good storyline. I really firmly believe that. However, the first third, I was thinking, okay, this is showy. There's lots of CGI. What am I in for here? And then the movie blossomed. And the story got so good and so deep. And I felt like there were so many moments where I started getting goosebumps because of the interactions of these characters.
Yeah.
So first impressions for me in the theater, I also had people that were on their phone talking about corn nuts behind me. So I was a little distracted, but the theater, as the story got more and more in depth, got quieter too, to the
Sure.
point that at the end, everyone was just
Leaned
dialed
in.
in.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
that was rad. That was really rad.
Yeah, I think this movie was just it felt so like epic in scale, right? They had to create a whole new world and culture that builds off like the African culture, but Wakanda is this whole other idea inside the Marvel universe.
Mhm.
And I thought they were pretty amazing at how they took that task on and really sold it. I was wowed, I think, the entire time by all the visuals, the audio, and all that. And I say this as a person who, unlike you, I beloved the superhero movie genre. Um, I think it's what Marvel's been able to accomplish is almost like they're retelling the myths of like the Greek era, like that
Mhm.
same framework and why it works. Um, they've done something incredible because you're able to go into a movie like Black Panther already knowing a lot of the history into the world, and they don't have to like kind of set it all up like perfectly. Um, so, and I think my biggest highlight for this would have to be all the characters in this movie. All the characters felt so amazingly real and like fully realized, and I think that is a big departure for most of the comic book movies that we've been seeing lately.
Yes, and I think that's the biggest problem that I have is it just feels a lot of times in comic films, it feels like there is just so much thrown in. I felt like the length of this film was right where it needed to be. I did feel
Mm-hmm.
like I started to know these characters, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, the character development was there, and it like I really enjoyed Logan when Logan
Okay.
came out because Logan
Yeah.
had a really strong story, and I felt
Mm-hmm.
like Black Panther followed the same, a very very strong story, and I really cared about the characters.
Right.
Beyond that, just like the idea of the technology, the idea that this Wakanda, this third world country from the outsider's perspective, was so rich and so powerful and so worldly and so wise is
Yeah.
just such a unique and interesting premise for any type of story because it's
Mhm.
an overlooked area,
Yeah.
like it's just it's a an overlooked area that has a significant impact on the world.
Mhm.
And I love that. I love the dynamic that they explore with this story.
Yeah, and then with the science, like how great was Black Panther's sister? She was such a nerd, and they like fully embraced like how it's fun to be a nerd, and, like be a scientist and engineer.
Yeah.
That character was so great. It was almost like a female version of like Spider Man, like how nerdy Spider Man gets, and then she's in there like driving this like mock up of a car that's all simulated around her and stuff. It was amazing. I loved it. I loved that
Hmm.
part of that movie.
Hmm.
Um, I
You know,
think
one
the
thing one thing that I thought was like really amazing too, and you don't think about it. I don't know. I have never thought about it as a white person
Mhm,
watching movies that are predominantly white actors.
mhm,
And the fact that in this film, it was all of the white characters were the people just walking behind on the street. They
mhm.
were the random bodyguard every once in a while.
Yeah.
And it was such a crazy, I don't know, it was such a realized event for me to watch this film and see that only like the minor characters were white basically,
Right.
and to know to be aware of that
Mhm.
and then realize that that's what I assume black people go through, having to watch all of our shit all the fucking time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost like they accomplished it being like an international film. Like when you
Yeah.
watch, like you're not watching an American film, and it's noticeable.
Yeah.
So I kind of agree with that. I think you're right about that. It's very interesting that
I
they were able
was
to
I
pull
was
that
just
off.
There was one point where I was just like, I realized I'm like, oh man, there's like the one white guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this must be what it feels like. And
Hmm.
it wasn't like a bad feeling, but I was just like, man, if you are so used to having to watch like,
Yeah.
white actors with like one black actor. I don't know. I thought that was,
Sure.
sorry to pull away from the
Oh,
story,
you're good.
but
You're good.
I think that's part of the reason why it's a well done movie, but the message is more powerful. What they've done here is more powerful than just the story itself.
Definitely. Going to the theater, it definitely felt like there was like a celebration going on. Like, people wearing like the African garbs and shirts and all that. Everyone's like had the headdresses wrapped up. Like it was like there was an event going on that was bigger than this movie. And which, to Black Panther's credit and to Marvel's credit, like they took that moment and like they like embraced it. Like they met it head on and they knocked it out of the park with it.
Mhm.
Like they knew this was going to be something different, and it was. And they made a great movie to boot.
Mhm.
I love the character of Black Panther in it too. He is such a good contrast. From all the other kind of superhero characters in all the universes. Like Tony Stark's so cocky, Thor has this like swagger, Captain America less so, but then you get to like Black Panther and he just has this like wise energy about him where he's a very reserved and
Wise and very human. Very human, I would say. Like just but a good human, I guess like every character would be human, right? But like just someone to strive to be just in any spectrum or sense of the word,
and we definitely haven't seen that character inside the Marvel movie universe yet, and I just think he works so much better than the Doctor Strange, like, oh, I'm just a cocky son of a gun and I have superpower abilities to back it up. Like this guy is like one of the best fighters in the universe, whatever. And he's just so reserved and poised and then thoughtful. Like the actor Chadwick Boseman just delivered. Like he delivered.
Yeah.
I think all the acting in this movie was outstanding. Like out of the park.
What did you think of his cousin, Eric Killmonger? What did you think of when he walked? He just had this sway. Did you notice that? His sway, he had this sway, he had this kind of head bobble. He just had this like cock of the head all the time. I loved that character. I love it. It was the Oakland. I actually did like him. I had a hard time getting used to him initially. And then after a while, I was like, okay, you didn't like him?
Well, here's my thing. Because like the character of Killmonger, his story was so believable, right? Him as a villain, which Marvel always they have this villain problem. It's almost like they solved it with this movie, and they're doing such a better job because the reason why he was a villain was so good and impacted like the entire story in a whole different way. But and I could be wrong about this. I'm not the best movie critic in the world. I just thought his performance didn't live up to the standard that everyone else was throwing. I felt like everyone else was on this huge level. And then he wasn't able to get there. I thought.
What did you want to see more from him? Anger? More rage?
I don't even think that. I think it was. I just don't think he. I don't think he was able to like fully realize the character. He didn't feel believable to me in that part. And that's so personal. But I just I thought everyone else did such a tremendous job. It's just he felt like a lightweight swinging with the heavyweights.
What I liked about his character is since he was abandoned, since his father was killed by Black Panther's father, and he had gone through a very traumatic childhood and trained and almost put all of his energy and efforts into combating this this transgression, this horrible thing that had happened to him. It was like he never grew up in a lot of other elements.
Okay.
And so I thought that his performance was spot on only because he seemed a little bit more rudimentary than a lot of the other characters. But you have to realize that his entire, like for me, at first, like I said, I kind of questioned him a little bit, but his entire life had been dedicated towards vengeance, towards making sure that he killed the people that had hurt him. And that is a really deafening and stunting purpose.
Right.
And I felt like his demeanor and everything did kind of coincide with that. He only cared about killing people. He only cared about his own anger. And it made him childlike in a sense.
Yeah. And like I'm saying, like the character was fantastic. And like what he tried to do was fantastic. I just don't think his performance
Hmm.
nailed what he thought he needed to do for the character. You know, like it was like it just and this, you know,
I
any
will
other
say that,
movie it might have been great, but like he's going up against, you know, Angela Bassett, Forrest Whitaker. Like there are some heavy hitters in this film.
yeah, Lupita.
Lapita,
She is she is a goddess.
what a great movie for like strong women in this. Um, you
Oh
know,
God, that was another thing.
Okoye, how do you say her name? Okoye? Uh,
Okoye, yeah, I think
Denara
Okoye.
who is Michonne from The Walking Dead, right?
Mhm.
Gives a way stronger like don't mess with me performance of this, and she knocked it out of the park, dude. That casino scene where she's messing everyone up, holy crap!
Yeah,
Whew.
yeah, yeah. That was good. Also, the last scene where he goes, "Would you? Oh, what's the one of the tribe? Not tribe. What? I can't remember her husband. What's her
Yeah,
husband's name? I can't remember his name.
Wakabi.
Wakabi. When
Mm-hmm.
he goes, would you really kill me, my love? And she
Oh,
says, and she goes, I don't remember the exact words.
for
She's like,
Wakanda.
for Wakanda, I wouldn't bat an eye or something like that.
Yep.
I was like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's happening. My arm hair is getting like 2 inches long. It's crazy. It was so good
Yeah.
and just so powerful. Oh God, there were so many good scenes in that. I just
Yeah.
felt like in general, it was such a powerful film.
Yep.
And I don't know, it really
How
invigorated
great was
me
Forrest
for sure.
Whitaker? How great was he? Who I love Forrest Whitaker because we share the same eye pattern and the same problems with our eyes. I love Forrest Whitaker. He's in all these like nerd movies now, and him when he like throws the spear out to stop Killmonger from killing the Black Panther.
Mhm.
What a moment! Like so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. I thought he did a good job. He wasn't in it as much as I was expecting when I first saw him. I don't know.
The original cut for this movie was like 4 hours.
Wow. I'm not surprised.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe he was in the movie a lot more than he is now. Because his
Yeah.
character kind of seems like it would have been I almost felt like he almost had like the Obi-Wan role, except not. You know, like he was supposed to be the one who kind of taught Black Panther how to be a king.
Yep.
And then he kind of wasn't in the movie.
Yeah.
Anything that didn't work for you?
Like I said, it took me a while to get into it. I feel like I would have to see it again to know if that was because I really was listening to, you know, if ranch or like barbecue corn nuts were better for a little bit there.
Right.
There were also some like phones that were out and everything. And so I was a little distracted, but I did feel like it picked up a little slow. I would go see this again though. I would go see this again. I didn't feel like there were a few. Okay, you know what? There was one thing that did upset me, and that was when one of the rhinos licked the face. I was like, that's stupid.
Dude, when the rhinos just popped out, I would literally looked at my chick and was just like, what the fuck just happened? Like, why are all these rhinos all of a sudden here? Where did the battle rhinos come in? Like, where did they even come from?
They had shown them earlier in the film, but they had shown him training them and caring for them earlier in the film. So I wasn't surprised by that. But like, what rhinos like going around licking people's faces? You know,
what kind of rhinos? They're smarter.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, fair enough. I was just like, that just seemed a little, and that would be my tiny little critique of the film. Would be like they could have not done the licking. They could have just maybe done a little bit of a head bow, or there's other elements to that scene. And just so you guys know, this rhino's charging at who was it? Was it Okoye? Okoye? Yeah. So the rhino's charging. It's being ridden by her husband, and the rhino dead stops because he wants to obey her, and then he licks her face. And I just feel like the rhino could have like bowed his head or shown some other sort of affection. The face lick just seemed a little corny. But like I said, that is such a tiny thing about this film that I can call out after leaving it and be like, that was a little bit obnoxious.
I think I had a
The
problem with like the CGI in the movie as a whole. The
It
CGI got a
wasn't
little.
great, but I moved past it.
Mhm.
The only other element that I didn't really love was the death scene of Eric Killmonger. I did not
Mm.
love his death scene. I liked that. I guess that's probably one of the biggest spoilers I could throw out there, right? But like, I didn't like that he. It just seemed like they became suddenly super buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Black
First
Panther and
off,
him seemed like too buddy at the end.
surprised they killed him off. He kind of seems like a character that was going to stick around for future Marvel
Mhm.
usage because he was the idea of that character is so good. I thought the final fight scene between him and Black Panther was a little underwhelming.
Mhm.
It was just like two CGI people fighting in dark costumes inside of a dark cavern. And it just didn't work for me. Like there was something about this movie that felt so much more than the superhero and the villain have an epic fight that's crazy and CGI at the end. Um,
Yeah.
and that's how it ended up. And I guess it worked on a level, but um, the director of this film did Creed, and Creed has like really, really good fight scenes in it that are very brutal and impactful. And then you have that scene, it just kind of felt kind of flat, just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I wish there was
Yeah.
something more there at the end.
Overall thoughts though?
Fantastic movie. Like just an accomplishment. It really moves these superhero movie genre a little bit forward to make it more comfortable with tackling issues in society. They've touched on it before, but this movie really hit the nail on the head with it, and it's like, let's talk about this, and that's pretty impressive for a superhero movie, and they did it on such a epic scale, and like
Mhm.
every part of it was like a knockout. Like the costumes were fantastic, the imagery was fantastic, the sound. This is like the first movie Marvel came out with where the score like blew me away, and all the
Yeah.
music. I was like, holy, like what's going on? Like this is a Marvel movie. They don't usually do this, and it just elevated the movie past anything they've done before.
Yeah. Uh, it's gotten insane ratings on like Rotten Tomatoes, on IMDb. I mean, it's just been super well received.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that I think that the rating for an action for a superhero movie, I do think that this is a top performer. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and not just by how much money it's made, by what they did with it, the editing of this film. If it was originally 4+ hours, they did an exceptional job editing it down and having it make sense and not having it feel super choppy or like you're missing components or like you're being dragged around. They did a great job with that. The editing was exceptional.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that it's at the top, but I also think like the last time I checked it was like a 97% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
I don't know that this is a 97% film. I feel like maybe 90, because there's a lot of movies that breach the 90%, 90%. It's a good film, but I also just, I don't, it's not perfect. It's not,
right.
Like you said, the CGI can get a little bit tiresome. I don't know how it's going to hold up over the next like 5 years.
Yeah.
It was really, in some parts, very noticeable today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would go see it again.
Yeah, I would too. I'm definitely agree with you that like it's like you said, like it's around the 90% range. Like probably just a little bit more for me because I'm a superhero like fanboy moviegoer. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna head to break, and when we come back, we're gonna be interviewing Tyler, the co-creator of Starmancer, a space station simulator with unique attributes and game dynamics, killer artwork, and fantastic programming. We'll be right back, Nomads. All right, Nomads, thank you for sitting through that break. On the show today, we have Tyler from Omnix Games. They are the developers of the indie Kickstarter Starmancer. Tyler, welcome to Backspace Nomads.
Yeah, hey guys, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Tyler.
How are you today?
Good, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Oh, well, that was quite the ice-breaking question there, Brian.
Thank you.
What's the weather like where you are, Tyler?
Well, it is a brisk 30 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe. And for your
Oh, nice.
international fans, that's something like -2 Celsius,
Oh, thank you.
-1 Celsius.
Yeah.
So
They're gonna love
there you
you.
go. Yeah.
So
I'm still
we,
relatable.
you're very relatable. So we had decided that since we were having you on, I'm like, we need to think of some questions outside of just the Kickstarter, like talking about the Kickstarter, which we're going to jump into in a little bit. But I wanted to learn about how to ask the best ice-breaking questions. And so I did a hunt of how to break the ice. These are all in order. These are for if you're on a date, but this is a date because it is a day of the year and you had to be here at a certain time. So,
Yeah.
it's
a very
pretty much,
platonic date, but it still works.
yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. So, so I got a few questions for you here. Here we go. What do you give a damn about?
Ooh.
I like my dog.
Okay.
I like.
What kind of dog do you have?
Oh, okay. So my dog, let's see. I can talk about this. We got her from a shelter, actually. We have no idea what she is. She was born in Tennessee, got shipped up in a van with all her relatives to Michigan. I don't know why. If that's a thing, whatever. She looks kind of like a German Shepherd, but her head is a lot smaller than her body. So she looks like a German Shepherd. She looks like if someone described a German Shepherd, but they'd never seen one and they tried to make one. That's what my dog basically.
That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So you give a damn about your dog. Okay, yeah. Nice. All right. Here's another really exceptional question. I thought, I'm a bit old-fashioned. How about you?
Yes. Sure. Yes, I'm very old-fashioned. I don't have any tattoos, so I'm pretty old-fashioned, I guess. I don't know.
Okay. Yes. All right. I'm reading these exactly. I'm reading these exactly as they're written.
I can feel the ice breaking. I'm seeing the cracks in the ice.
If this was a date, honestly, I would be ready.
You got the breadsticks coming. We're almost there.
I'm not waiting for my water anymore, so I have something to do.
This is one that I thought was exceptional. I found this one on Love Panky.
Wow.
I love hearing other people's stories. Do you have a story?
Yeah. So one time, I was on this podcast and they kept asking me weird icebreaker questions. But it worked out. It was actually a good story. This is a good story. And so, yeah.
Okay. All right. Perfect. And this one is a little bit more serious. Of what are you the most afraid?
I am afraid of failing my country. That's what I'm afraid of.
Okay.
Everyone's afraid of something.
Yeah.
Well, that was intense. That was weird. Are you serious or not? I don't know if he's serious. Should we ask him if he's joking?
No.
Mad.
I'm just thinking about how do you fail your country? What does your country demand?
That's a good success. I don't know.
Okay. Oh, wait, picket fence.
Yeah. The dream.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't really like swimming that much, but I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm as afraid of drowning as is healthy to be. Like, I don't want to drown, but
yeah.
I'll still swim. It's not like a crippling phobia.
Sure.
I think I don't know. Brian, what are you afraid of? I don't know if I'm afraid of anything anymore.
I am definitely afraid of not heights, but it's more like the drowning thing, like just falling. Like I can get up high, but if I get
I don't want to go.
The sensation of falling from being up high, I'm done for. I'm done for then.
Yeah, I hate roller coasters. I don't know what it is, but I would say, I don't know if I'm afraid of. I mean, I guess I'm afraid of roller coasters, but I mean, I'm not going to go on them because they just seem like nonsense, right? Like, let's strap in and just go.
It's terrifying. Right. You have this minimum wage paid kid from high school who's pressing the green button.
He's like, yeah, it's working. It's safe. It's safe. Don't worry about it. It's good. Just go. Just go.
Did it click in? Did you hear the click? You good?
Yeah, they're asking you always. I mean, they're like, hey, is it clicked in? I'm like, I don't know. Is it? I don't know. I hope.
Hold We're gonna see in about 15 seconds.
All right. There's one other one from Love Pinky. I thought this one was a really good one. Actually, no, I've got two more. Do you like dressing in casuals or formals?
I guess I like dressing in casuals. You know? I mean, it's nice to look nice sometimes when the occasion calls for it. I should have dressed up for this. I should have worn like a suit. I should also get a suit.
That would be, you could also, it would be great if we just do, if we do a wardrobe change in the middle of this.
It'd be fun if you did it and don't mention it though. Like we don't.
We all just start taking our clothes off and changing. And this is the very last question that I have. This is one of the icebreaking questions that's listed. How is your salad?
Is that like a sexual question? I don't even know what that means.
Is it good?
It's adequate, I would say. I would say it's okay. It could be better, but it's okay.
Okay.
It's fine.
Don't mention what's in it, because that could be your safe word. We have the safe word, and it's any vegetable. So just don't say anything that's in the salad.
Specifically, green vegetables was my safe word. So I'm okay with talking about potatoes, carrots, tomatoes. Potatoes might be a fruit, but for this case, let's say they're a vegetable. I'll talk about peppers. Yeah, but not green peppers.
Fuck.
But only red peppers. So.
Okay, he said green pepper. It's time to move on.
Cut your Ethernet cord.
Well, let's talk about Starmancer then, since we hit a safe word. Tell us a little bit about your game. Like, what's the first thing people need to know about it?
So the basic idea of it is that you're like this human AI hybrid, and you're in charge of a space station. And so the basic goal is essentially, well, I guess if you're playing and you're feeling like sort of nice or whatever, the idea of it is you're supposed to keep your colony alive and grow it. So the basic premise is you have a space station, try not to let people die, and try to leave the station in a better place than you found it.
So it's like being in the Boy Scouts and going. It's
just
camping.
Like being in the Boy Scouts. Essentially, that's what our pitch. We're trying to get sponsored. Haven't received anything back yet. Any Boy Scouts out there? I was a Weebelos, so I don't know. Never went full time in the Boy Scouts, but I was a Weebelos, so just bear that in mind.
Just always leave it better than you found it.
That's what it is.
You guys already hit your Kickstarter goal.
Yes.
And you still have 26 days to go, right?
Long. Yeah.
So, did you think that you were going to hit this so quickly? So, I mean, it's the hard thing with Kickstarter campaigns is like, you have no idea how well they'll be received. Right. It's also tough. This is just slightly related, but it's the same thing with like pricing or rewards, right? So if you have like a limited reward of whatever, and you want to price things, because you want to price things fairly, you want to price things in a way that people can actually get it. But let's say that you have some reward, like we have a reward for designing a mission. If 10,000 people wanted to design a mission, we would like be dead. Like, I don't even know what we would do. Like that would be insane. We just couldn't do that, right? So you have to price the rewards in a way that, okay, I don't want 10,000 people to pick this reward, but I do want like, at least like 50 people to pick the reward.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it just makes, pricing things really difficult. Anyway, in terms of when we expected to hit our goal, we expected to hit our goal, but we didn't have any expectations of when it would happen.
Yeah. Well, congrats.
You don't know, right? You don't know. So good.
Yeah, that's awesome. So how did you guys come up with the idea? When did you come up with the idea? How long have you been working on the game? And
let's see. So Victor and I met in 2011, actually. At the time, he was making a Minecraft mod with my friend. And so on the Kickstarter page, it says like we met making a Minecraft mod, but okay, like actually I didn't work on the Minecraft mod, but I wasn't going to go into an elaborate backstory, and so it sounded better than just like this with all these caveats or something.
Sure.
So Victor's making a Minecraft mod with my friend. They start making some random indie game called A Kingdom's Tale, and it's the game in which you manage a town and you go and you loot stuff and you come back and you build up your town, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I see that. I see the art for it. It looked really cool. And I liked making games as a hobby, but I'm so terrible at drawing. Like it's so bad. I just can't do it. And so I was like, oh my God, I gotta get in on this team. So I weaseled my way in, and then, you know, I've been doing stuff with Victor pretty much ever since. And so we had worked on some, you know, really sort of simple mobile game, and we just wanted, you know, make a game and release it. And it's called Super Squid Squishers. It's a game in which you squish squids, by the way. We were pretty creative at the time.
Yeah.
It's good alliteration.
It's not worth looking up. Yeah, alliterations are key.
Yeah.
We're really good at it. So Starmancer, the sequel is going to be Super Starmancer, :space. Yeah. But anyway, so yeah.
When did you guys come up with Starmancer? How long ago?
So after we finished that random mobile game, we were just looking for something to do. And I really liked like Dwarf Fortress, right? Like I remember reading stories about it. And if I can remember the name of the one Dwarf Fortress story that I read that made me fall in love with it. Oh man, if I can remember it, Dwarf Fortress Murders. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so the long story short is I was like, Victor, you have really nice art. We could make a really pretty looking Dwarf Fortress.
Did you say it just like that?
I said, I get right in the mic. I was like, Victor, I whispered in his ear. I was like, Victor, your art, the best art. We could make a really cool Dwarf Fortress. And he was like, whoa, I like the way you're making me feel right now. And I totally agree with it. Anyway, so that was back in about 2014, let's say 2015, I'm pretty sure. So we've been working on it basically part-time for about 2 years. And then we started working on it full-time a little over a year ago. So in total, let's say maybe like 2 years, you know, something like that. But, you know, some of it was part-time.
Yeah. So why did you guys end up going full-time? Just because you saw
so we were
promise in it and you wanted to like push it along faster?
Yeah, that's essentially what it was. It looked kind of nice. It looked promising. So we're like, all right, let's just try it, right? Worst case, we're failures and our parents won't like us, but you know, whatever. We get new parents.
So, and the Kickstarter, it's near complete, right? Like the Kickstarter is pretty much bringing you guys to like the final level here now.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
So our Kickstarter goal was $40,000, which is, let's say, $20,000 per person, but it's really not, because Kickstarter takes a 5% fee. Then you have the credit card fees you have to deal with. So maybe, you know, you get about 90% of the money. So let's just say that's about $18,000 per person, which is enough to, you know, eat a lot of rice and spaghetti. Right. Yeah. But that was our goal, right? So we already saved up money previously. So that minimum amount of money would allow us to, you know, not get real jobs in the meantime and keep working, you know, full time on Starmancer. Sure. So yeah, it should bring us all the way to release.
In terms of art style, I really love what you guys are doing with it. How did you come up and settle on the kind of 3D world with 2D texture layered over it?
You should know that I have had so many like angry conversations with Victor about having to deal with 2D sprites in a 3D world because there are so many issues with them, like just getting misaligned with 3D objects and stuff, and not being misaligned and being not aligned with each other and clipping through things. But anyway, Victor really likes the 2D art style, and I like his art. It's good. It's fine. But it, you know, it does represent like a technical challenge.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not the artist, but Victor, he really liked it, and I do like it too. And pixel art sort of appeals to people. They kind of get like that nostalgia feel for it. And at the end of the day, you can put more detail into pixel art than if we had made equivalent, you know, 3D models.
Yeah, absolutely. What are you guys aiming for, like release date wise, early access? What are you guys thinking?
So we're thinking, we try to be somewhat conservative with our estimates, but we're fairly confident we could have, you know, some sort of something like public on Steam. So that might mean early access, but either way, something where normal people can go and buy without the Kickstarter. Probably by January of next year. That seems realistic. Because our goal isn't to put every single feature in the game that we want in the game on release. You know, our plan is to make the game basically functional, you know, and at least decently fun. And basically we want to feel like, wow, this game's really fun. It's really polished. I just wish there was more to do in it. And so after launch, we plan on putting more stuff to do into it.
Gotcha.
Did you guys work together? So I know that the relationships of the colonists play like a big part in this. Were there any of these relationship stories based off of like real stories from your life or people that you know? You don't have to name names. Please don't say any vegetables, any green vegetables here. But like, where did you guys get the inspiration for the interactions?
So some interactions, I mean, obviously some of them is just, looking at games like RimWorld and Dwarf Fortress.
Okay.
But specifically like the way that colonists talk to each other and have like this rumor system and the way they spread information around. Like specifically that, I was actually reading the book Wool by Hugh Howey, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a book about like this post-apocalyptic sort of world and people live in silos and like the flow of information is spread sort of through rumors from people who just transport material throughout their silo.
Okay.
And sort of an important element of that story was controlling the flow of information. And I was just reading that and just coincidentally working on Starmancer. I was like, wow, this is really, really cool. And so the reason we have a rumor system, I guess I should explain the rumor system, huh?
Yeah. Tell us about the rumor system.
So colonists talk and whenever a colonist has a morale modifier, they remember it as a memory. And then when they talk to other colonists, they'll randomly either talk about a memory or just something random. So like maybe they'll have like their talking icons, like a happy face, and 75% of the time it's just a random happy face and it doesn't mean anything. But then the player can impart like I feel like they're happy. So haha, it's cute. Sort of like the way Sims talk, basically.
Yeah.
But then about 25% of the time, they're actually, conveying information to each other. So if something good happens to a colonist or bad happens to a colonist, they'll tell their friend about it. And that colonist will actually receive a morale modifier if the thing was good or if it was bad that they heard about. And then that colonist, let's say colonist B, he'll go talk to colonist C, and then it can get spread through the whole station. So if someone sees a dead body, they'll tell their friends might tell people, and it can spread as a rumor. So if someone sees a dead body and you don't want other people to find out, you'd have to lock the door and make sure he doesn't tell anybody ever.
Oh, that's great, dude. Holy crap. I love that idea.
Yeah, that's awesome. What kind of gamer is this game best for? Like,
I would assume it's probably people who like games like RimWorld, and maybe people who like games like Roller Coaster Tycoon even.
Okay.
So people who like sim style games, sort of management games. And obviously for people who don't want to physically be in the station because you're not, you don't physically control somebody.
Yeah.
So people who like management games, people who like tycoon games, would I assume be the people who would like the style of game.
Okay.
And then maybe even people who sort of like The Sims.
Yeah.
But wish there was.
What's the most complicated aspect of it, do you feel?
Huh.
Like if you
that's actually a decent question. Let's see.
I mean, I know it's not complete yet, so that could change, right. But like
you mean complicated for the player?
Yeah.
Or complicated for us?
But let's just do both. But yeah, I'm thinking more so the player, but I would love to know you've already said the 2D, 3D is. Why? But yeah, if you guys have run into any, interesting hiccups or challenges, that would be awesome to know. But for the player specifically, like where do you see the most challenge with this game coming from?
Yeah, so in terms of when you're actually playing, I assume that probably sort of an issue in these sorts of games is having a like reliable and renewable source of like raw resources.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in this game specifically, what you do is because you can't go out and mine because you're in the middle of space, what are you going to do? So you actually send your colonists out on ships and they go out and it's like a rabbit hole style encounter. So it's like in The Sims where you like get in your car and you drive out to work and you're like an astronaut, but like you don't get to see him like doing astronaut stuff. So it's like that. And then they come back later with resources. So I think it's like raw or ice, that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I assume that sort of balancing that ecosystem would be one of the more complicated things for players. I mean, obviously we're trying to make it easier, but usually that's sort of what happens in these games is you start out with just a surplus of stuff, right? You start the game and they give you like 1 million units of food and 1 million units of raw ore. And then you're playing, you're just kind of all happy. And then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, I'm out of food. I didn't prepare for this. And then everybody dies. So that's what I mean when I say like managing, a renewable source of raw resources.
Yeah. And then as for you guys, anything else, like any major challenges that you foresee or?
Yeah, something hard for us too is, from a technical perspective, the players could. Well, obviously, the players couldn't build a station like a, an infinite size, right? They couldn't build a massively huge station.
Mhm.
So something that's hard for us is, we have to try and optimize everything so that you can still play the game even if you've been playing for let's just say 100 hours on one station and it's huge, right? It still needs to be optimized so that you can keep playing, because it wouldn't be fun, obviously, if you put all this time into your station and now you can't play it because bad programming. Or sometimes maybe too much details in the art. So we could also sometimes blame the artist.
Yeah. Could we do that?
Yeah. Just blame everything on Victor. He's not here to defend himself.
It could just always be the artist's fault if you really looked into it deep enough.
Victor, there's too many polys in this model. I told you 100 times.
I feel for Victor. I'm on his side on this one, man.
Yeah. But ultimately, it would be my fault if it wasn't optimized well.
Sure.
Usually, something like maybe atmosphere flow is too technically realistic, right? So we have to simplify things like atmosphere flow, because otherwise, your computer would blow up probably.
Sure. All right. So, where can everyone find you? Where can they find
I was drinking water.
Starmancer?
Yeah, so we actually have a website. Let's see, what is it? It's playstarmancer.com, because starmancer.com was taken by somebody. You can view that site too. It's a beautiful site. You can got poems on it. It's true. It's got some poems on it. You can check it out. So you can do that. But anyway, you can find us on playstarmancer.com. We also have a Twitter account, Starmancer Game. That sounds right. Just Google Starmancer and you'll find us. That's the easiest thing, quite honestly. Just Google Starmancer. You'll probably find us, or you'll find the other website.
I'm on the other website right now, and wow, impressive.
It is. So it's important to remember that if you see poetry, it's not our site. You're like, I don't understand. This is weird. What is going on? Is this fan poetry? Is this like a companion piece to Starmancer?
Yeah, I like the beautiful cursive S on the starmancer.com.
It is beautiful. Now, I don't want to I don't want to gossip too much like a little schoolgirl.
Yeah.
But the owner of that website actually contacted us about 2 weeks ago.
Really?
And he's like, or she, or whatever, whomever, was like, hey, I'll give you this website if you make me your social media managers, or if you hire me. That was their pitch. That was their pitch. It wasn't like, hey, here's the website. By the way, you should consider me if you're ever expanding. No, it was like a ransom.
Yeah. You want me to take my poetry down?
Yeah.
Well, I need a job. Yeah.
I know. I was like, excuse, but I was polite. I was just like, oh no, we're not looking to expand at this time, but thanks.
Yeah.
We're happy with our site. I
Yeah.
was like, excuse me, are you ransoming? What are you doing right now? What was the best case scenario here that I was like?
They get hired.
Yeah, that's true. Best case, they get hired.
They have a salary.
Yeah.
Win-win.
Yeah, I love the site though. I love the art on your guys' site. A little bit better than just playstarmancer.com. Your site is slightly better than starmancer.com, I gotta say. So, well, congrats on meeting your goals and everything so quickly, and you still have plenty of time to hit your stretch goals. Do you want to talk a little bit about those? What's coming up next if you hit the next pledge amounts?
Yeah. By the way, it just occurred to me that no one's seen my face before. As you're talking, I was like, wait a second, no one knows what I look like.
Well,
a woman.
That would mean that you do have artwork made of you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, it looks like I'm in an Ender's Game or something. I was like, Victor, why do we look so young? He's like, well, I try to make us look like older, but then we look like we were 80. I was like,
just wrinkles all over. Yeah, that's fair.
Like, okay. Anyway, so I'm so distracting. All right. So for stretch goals, so we don't have any intention of having like outlandish stretch goals where it's like, hey, 120K, real-time multiplayer, baby. That's right. 140K, we're coming to the freaking Switch. And the PS4. All right.
And your house.
Yeah, and your house. Yeah. By the way, I never get those rewards that are like, pay $10,000 and you'll get to we'll fly you out to Chicago where we live, and you'll party with the devs, like a one-on-one party with a stranger. And it's like, here's the thing. If you're a person who gives $10,000 on a Kickstarter, I don't want to hang out with you. Like, I don't know who you are, but like, who are you?
Someone who really wants to party with your Sprite.
Yeah.
I know. Unless you're like independently, like if you're like a Saudi prince and you're just like, or if you're not, hey Notch, if you're listening, well, we can hang out, bro. Notch, give it 10,000, we'll hang out. But if you're just like, I just imagine that most of like someone who would actually give $10,000 to party with the devs is sort of like just this, like it's a weird dude. Like,
it's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if any,
I
I don't know if any of your viewers are 10K donate backers, so I don't know if I've alienated them.
All of them. All of them.
If you are, feel free to send us a message and you can defend yourself.
And then we'll decide whether or not
I'm
we'll
a
hang
normal
out.
guy, all right? Some people buy a new car. I like to back Kickstarter. I'm a cool guy. I like to have parties.
Yeah.
So maybe you're that guy. I don't know.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Let's find out. Let's get the scoop. Right?
Fair enough.
Anyway, so our next goal would be it'd be fairly boring. It'd be a continuation of the same theme. So what we're gonna do is post release, we want to keep working on the game full time. And so to do that, we just need to make sure that we have enough money to still stay alive and work full time. And so we'll do, we call them content expansions. So essentially what we'll do is we'll keep working on the game and we'll be providing new content for free. I mean, obviously it's free once you buy the game. Like we wouldn't just like give you this, I don't know how it would make sense to you about the game. Anyway, but you gotta buy the game. So it's free in that sense, as opposed to like paid DLC. And so that would be our future stretch goals. So fairly boring. But I don't know. We don't like to.
Oh, you don't have to say they're boring. You just you can say, you just have to end every sentence on a high note, like and then everything sounds exciting. So
That's
even
true.
if you're like, it could be fairly boring, like you just suddenly everything sounds so much better. Everything sounds so much
Our
fun.
next goal will probably be maybe robots.
Okay.
Because you need something tangible, and then it's more exciting that way. So probably things like cyborgs.
Okay.
So basically, like if a colonist loses his arm, you could replace it with a robotic arm. We want to do something where you play with the idea of sort of slowly just replacing the colonists with like robotic parts until you have, you know, like Cybermen from Doctor Who, you know, something like that. Just because that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, you guys you're currently 56,000 pledged of your 40,000 goal, 26 days to go. I know Brian specifically has been tracking this for a while. And so, you know, good job. Kudos to you guys for all the work and the publicity that you've gotten. I feel like Kickstarter in general has gotten a lot harder.
Yeah, it absolutely has. Like if you looked at in 2010, there was so much sort of belief or something in funding things, and now we become more jaded. We become more jaded with like so many failed projects. So people are like, hang on, like this seems suspicious.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because if you looked at like just look at like any project from like 2011 Kickstarter, basically it says, hey, I'm making a game, and it gets like $200,000.
Right.
And that's all I had to do, because people are like, this is really cool. Like this game sounds cool. It sounds great. Why would it fail? And then they just get money. And, you know, now people have, you know, backed so many projects that really didn't go anywhere, that they're, you know, they're sort of,
have we
hesitant. Yeah.
So how did you decide to go this route? You know, knowing that, how'd you like, I mean, knowing kind of the place that Kickstarter's in comparison, and you're successful in it, right? Like you guys are where you want to be. Like, how did you decide to?
So I mean, so the two ways of you know, making money, basically not dying, right?
Right.
Would be raising money before you have a completed project, or releasing your project in a state that's not that much fun, but that some people might play it, and you know, so basically some sort of like crappy early access, where it's like, you know, like, hey, the game's not fun yet, but we need money, so you can play it now, and you like it
and not have fun.
Yeah. Anyway, and we didn't want to do that because regardless of what people might think, they form first impressions, and
absolutely,
those never change. And also, let's be honest, there's so many games coming out. Are you really going to spend, let's say you spend 3 days playing, you know, our crappy early access game, and then a year later we keep making updates and it's awesome. You're probably not going to go back. Maybe half the people will go back, maybe half of them. And the other half won't. And so if you had had that awesome game, if you had released, that year later, you'd waited to release the other awesome thing, way more people would play it. It'd be way more successful than if you just released sort of this sort of crappy, early access.
Right.
And that's just how it is. I mean, you probably played an early access game that was, you're like, that's pretty good, but it could be better.
Yeah.
And then 5 years later, you're like, oh yeah, whatever happened with that? And you look at it and you're like, wow, it got really good 3 years ago. And you never even knew. Because why would you? There's so many other games to play.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's 100%. Why we went with we try to go with a crowdfunding instead.
Right.
Just because quite honestly, games aren't games in development aren't fun to play. They're just not. Like, you might think like, oh, I would love to do it, but you probably wouldn't love to play it. You wouldn't. Like, you'd have fun for like 2 hours and then you'd be like, well, that's cool, I'll check in later. And then I just not be.
Yep. I 100% have lived that life. So
all right, well, Starmancer, you can find it at playstarmancer.com. You can find him on Kickstarter. There are in the stretch goals, so you still have time to back it. Tyler, thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it was great having you.